Good afternoon, everyone. It is so wonderful to see all of your lovely faces. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Christine Ingram. I am the local interest librarian here in New Hanover County Public Library. Today, we are here to learn about the past, present, and future of Giblem Lodge. That's Wilmington's oldest Black Masonic Lodge, which is currently working with Historic Wilmington Foundation on preservation and restoration. Today, we are going to hear from Dr. Julius Jones about this lovely historic space here in Wilmington. Dr. Jones is a historian, curator, educator, and digital media producer with over a decade of experience in the not-for-profit sector, with a particular focus on the higher education and cultural institutions. Currently, Julius is an assistant professor in the Department of History at the University of North Carolina at Wilmington, where he teaches courses on United States and African American history. He is also an affiliate of the Public History and Africana Studies programs. Julius earned his PhD in history from the University of Chicago, where his research focused on 20th century United States cultural and social history, particularly the meanings of aspirations among racial and ethnic minorities. He also has an MA in history from the University of Chicago and a BA in history and African American studies from Duke University. With that, I will turn you over to Julius.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this wonderful turnout on a Sunday afternoon. Again, my name is Julius, and I'm honored to be here. In addition to being on the faculty at UNCW, I'm also a member of the Board of Trustees of the Historic Wilmington Foundation and the Giblem Lodge Task Force. And so on behalf of all those capacities, I thank you very much for taking some time out of your Sunday afternoons to come learn this important history. And I hope it serves as a call to action for all of us to with renewed energy and intensity and vigor, a call to arms really to save this important cultural institution. Before I get started, there are some thank yous I would like to give. First and foremost, I would like to thank Earl Armstrong and the members of Giblem Lodge number 2 for allowing us the opportunity to share their story and to participate with us and allowing us to use the artifacts that are in the display case on the second floor. We are eternally grateful that we have been invited into this important work. I also like to thank my partner in crime, Deb Helms, who has helped me put this talk and the case that's on display on the second floor together. She has really been a tireless advocate for not only historic preservation in the city, but through her work managing legacy salvage on behalf of the Historic Wilmington Foundation, but Giblem Lodge specifically. And so I am grateful to her. Additionally, I want to thank Christine Ingram and Jennifer Finlay with an A, not an E, Finlay, at the New Hanover County Library for allowing us the opportunity to use the space in the case and as well as this space to share this important work. Thank you to them. I want to thank Travis Gilbert and Isabel Shepard for their work on behalf of the Historic Wilmington Foundation and the Giblem Lodge Task Force, particularly Isabel for sharing some of the great work she's done and the grant she has prepared, the wonderful narrative she's put together to really get this story out. And it's proven successful, and I believe will continue to do so. So thank you for that. And then finally, the Giblem Lodge Task Force. It has truly been a collective effort, and I just want to read some of the institutions represented on this task force. The Burnett Eden Museum Foundation, Cape Fear Community College, the New Hanover County NAACP, the North Carolina State NAACP, Sokoto House, the Third Person Project, UNCW, North Carolina African American Heritage Commission, the City of Wilmington's Commission on African American History, and New Hanover County's Commission on African American History, Heritage, and Culture. So this has truly been a community-wide effort, and we are looking to anyone who is willing to join us in this important effort as well. So I think I wanted to begin by acknowledging all the work that has been done. So finally, I want to dedicate this talk to the memory of Raymond Mott. For those of you who Mott, the former worshipful master of Giblem Lodge, transitioned late last year after a courageous fight with cancer, and it's really his determination, his energy, his passion for Giblem Lodge that I think fuels all of us who have joined in this work. And he's pictured inside the lodge alongside Travis Gilbert, the executive director of Historic Wilmington Foundation. And it was really his drive on behalf of Giblem that has already borne out fruit, and I believe will continue to be the fuel that motivates this good and perfect work across the finish line. And so I wanted to begin by lifting his name up in his memory as we convene here today. I know that he would be proud of this moment. A little bit about myself is I am new to Wilmington. I moved here with my wife and my then 3-week-old son in July to assume my position at UNCW. And when I arrived, I was really eager to get involved with different things in the community. And it was the chair of the department, Lynn Lowenauer, who's here, who connected me to people in the community doing the work around Giblem Lodge. And this story, when I heard it, was so fascinating. I was immediately enthralled with it. I am familiar with masonry. I am not a mason, so I will not speak to that experience. I will share the podium with Dr. Jackson, and he will speak to that specific experience. But I am familiar back in my hometown with the men who make up Masonic lodges and know personally Prince Hall Masons and know what it has meant to them and to their communities wherever they are assembled. And so I would like to begin by talking about the legacy and the history of the Prince Hall Masons. And so what you see here is a drawing of Prince Hall, and it was he and 14 other free African-American men who on March 6, 1775, became the first known African-American Masons in the United States. They joined through a Masonic lodge embedded with the British Army during the Revolutionary War. After that unit was defeated and discharged from Boston, the African-American Masons were left without a lodge. And so they decided to start their own. This experience begins the origin of African-American Freemasonry, but really lays some of the key issues that have defined it. One being the racial paternalism and exclusion that many African-American Masons have experienced historically. While they were allowed to organize their lodge, they were required to have a white overseer in order to do so. They, of course, rejected this and organized their own lodge, the African Lodge, as they called it, and made Prince Hall their worshipful master. After struggling for nearly a decade for recognition, they petitioned the Grand Lodge of England for a charter, which they received. becoming African Lodge 459th Lodge. And then eventually from that, they spread the work of Freemasonry among African Americans. That word free, in the context of enslavement, was vitally important. These were men under the specter of enslavement, under the potential to be re-enslaved, that sought first and foremost to assert and reaffirm their freedom. They were not enslaved. They were no one's property. They worked tirelessly to ensure that they and their brothers could live full, free, and actualize their own vision and identity for their lives. They brought this spirit and the ethos to their families and to their communities. Soon, lodges spread all across New England. And ultimately, they would change their name to the Prince Hall Grand Lodge and become Prince Hall Mason. That name stays with us today. This is how we identify African American Masonry. And for over 200 years, it has carried forth. It becomes apparent that this ability to assert oneself as free, as master of the fruits of one's labor, would be attractive not only to those who work with their hands, but to other members of the African American communities who sought to distinguish themselves as captains of their own fate. And so this picture here of a Masonic lodge in New York City at the early 20th century demonstrates that not only did men of distinction who were physical laborers become Mason, but also professional class of African American men, doctors and lawyers. Even though they were not engaged with the craft of Masonry themselves, the Masonic creed and ethos of free men engaging in free labor, but their freedom to define themselves and their communities wasn't attractive. And really, we see the work of Masonic lodges as the third pillar of African American civic and cultural life in the late 19th, early 20th century. With the Black church and civil rights organizations, Masonic lodges, fraternal organizations of the like, really defined African American cultural life. They were engaged with the important work of fashioning a new identity for African Americans seeking to gain access to equal rights and equal protection under the law. They provided for the general welfare of the community, engaged in charitable work, established burial associations, old age homes, allowing people to care for the most vulnerable and needy in their community. This work appealed to African Americans in the South who were now no longer defined by the institution of slavery, but really seeking to determine what emancipation and freedom would mean for them. And so after the Civil War, Freemasonry spread to the South, whereas the institution of slavery had made it difficult sell by the immediate aftermath of the Civil War. African American Freemasons from the North come to the South, bringing this fraternal brotherhood to the region. And so in 1866, Prince Hall Freemasonry reached North Carolina. The Grand Lodge of New York sponsored the creation of two lodges. The second of those two was Giblem Lodge here in Wilmington. Giblem immediately set to the task of building its own lodge. Here's a newspaper clip that talks about a committee from Giblem Lodge that is looking for subscriptions to build their lodge on the corner of 8th and Princess Street, where the lodge still stands today. This newspaper clip is from 1871. Giblem would be successful purchasing their plot. And in 2 years, by 1873, the 3-story Masonic Lodge, which is built in the Italianate style, which is still standing, would be finished. A remarkable accomplishment that speaks to the perseverance, the dedication, and the hard work of Giblem and the men who made it. By 1878, many prominent African-American men were already members of Giblem. They included former state legislators George W. Price Jr. and George Massam, a graduate of Howard Law School and the first practicing African-American attorney in the state of North Carolina. Since its inception to today, men of distinction, men of dedication, men deeply committed to the betterment of their community and themselves have made up the membership of Giblem Lodge. It is the stature of Giblem and its members that made it the target during the white supremacist campaign of the 1890s, which culminates in the Wilmington Massacre of 1898, still remaining the only successful coup d'etat in American history. But what's fascinating is even in this moment of redemption of white supremacy, they did not destroy Giblem. They didn't burn it down. I was wrestling a lot with that, right? They targeted it, they diminished its base, but they didn't destroy it. Perhaps they knew that something about destroying it would ultimately come back to bite them. It is in the fact that Giblem stood that the city and Giblem was able to respond to the re-establishment of racial discrimination in Jim Crow in Wilmington with determination. In 1926, a committee fundraised $2,500 to establish the segregated Black library at Giblem Lodge. But for 40 years, Giblem would serve as the Black community's library during Jim Crow, when the New Hanover County public libraries refused African-American patronage. For several years, and this picture we recovered identifies it, the first floor of the lodge served as commercial space that provided an important source of revenue for the lodge. This picture, circa the 1930s, reminds us of a moment in time when this vibrant space was available to the community as a commercial enterprise, entrepreneurship, community space that allowed for pride and vigor and determination on behalf of the community. Today, the lodge and the task force are working to bring that moment back to fruition, to make this lodge useful and actionable again. It's another picture of the lodge. You see it's been plastered over. Over time, the building has fallen into disrepair. And now the ground floor where we meet to have our task force meetings is the only usable floor. Broken windows and a damaged roof have led to damage, and estimates totaling $500,000 are needed to repair it. So every month The task force convenes to strategize on how to bring this building back to its former glory. There have already been successes. Engineers have done studies, and this is where we get the cost from. And private donors, including the Mary Stedman Covington Foundation, the North Carolina Community Foundation, and an in-kind donation from Patriot Roofing and Exteriors, have already allowed us to replace the roof of Giblem Lodge. Much more work is needed, and time is desperately of the essence. But I'm confident as I stand here today that Giblem Lodge will be restored, and it will be brought back to its former glory. I'm confident of that fact because of the hard work and dedication of all those working tirelessly to do so. But more importantly than that, because of the seminal role that Giblem has played in Wilmington's African American community and the role that Giblem will play in the future of Wilmington. And with that, I will turn the microphone over to Dr. Terry Jackson, who will be speaking on behalf of Giblem Lodge.
Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to be here to speak on behalf of Giblem Lodge today. I thank Brother Earl Armstrong for allowing me that privilege. It's even more a privilege to think about and to speak about the importance of this lodge to this community when we think about the history. Before I get into that, I'll just give you a little bit about myself. I'm a native of Wilmington, North Carolina. Grew up on the South Side, a baby of segregation to desegregation. So understanding the importance and all that happened here in Wilmington. Being born in community hospital that no longer exists, and having my mother work at New Hanover for 36 years. And I think there are probably a couple people in here that probably worked with her. So with that, my background has been corporate America. I led a $1 billion division of an organization, a for-profit organization from 08 to 13. Prior to that, I worked for ExxonMobil. Prior to that, I worked for Norfolk Southern. There was a time where I got tired of corporate America and I opened a business here. And that business was a bail bonding business. Probably the greatest skills that I ever earned outside of college was the bail bonding business, because it taught me a lot about the nature of human beings on a day-to-day basis. So when I went back into corporate after being in the bonding business, I could sift between the minutia between the blue-collar worker and the white-collar worker. And I understood that white-collar crime robs nations. Blue-collar crime only robs homes. That's the importance of something like Giblem Lodge, because when you think about Giblem, the name in and of itself means to be the shaper of squares. I want to start by talking about operative masonry, which was the masonry that was in existence at the time before we went to speculative masonry. It means to be the stone squarers, which means that you understood geometry. You understood what it meant to be able to build not only a building, but a human being. The mental, the physical, the spiritual. That's what masonry is all about. And there's a poem that I like to, as I think about masonry, I'm going to recite this for you. It says, the architect visualizes his building. He sees it as if it is to be. His thought becomes plastic molds from which the building will eventually emerge. A high one, a low one, a beautiful one, a plain one. His vision takes form on paper, and eventually the necessary material is utilized and the building stands complete. The building stands complete. The building stands complete. Giblem Lodge. The building stands complete. See, we are, as Giblem men, the architects of culture. We help to shape behavior. Every single thing we do is about building blocks of human beings. See, Giblem men, we don't choose to be common men. It is our right to be uncommon if we can. We seek opportunity, not security. We do not wish to be kept a citizen humbled, indulged by having the state look after us. We want to take the calculated risk to dream, to build, to fail, or to succeed. We refuse to barter incentive for dough. We prefer the challenges of life to a guaranteed existence, the thrill of fulfillment to the stale calm of utopia. We will not trade freedom for benevolence, nor dignity for a handout. It is our heritage, the Giblem heritage, to think, to act for ourselves, to enjoy the benefit of creations, and to face the world boldly and say, with God's help, this we have done. See, Prince Hall Masonry, as the gentleman before me said, began September 29th, 1784. Grand Lodge, the dispensation came. African Lodge 459. The purpose of Prince Hall Mason is to foster social, racial uplift, mutual aid, and social justice. Now let's close our eyes and think about what's happening today. If you consider what's happening today, you know the importance of the role of Giblem Lodge in the community. As the worshipful master of Black Masons, Prince Hall spoke out against slavery and the denial of Black rights. For years, he protested the lack of schools for Black children and finally established one in his home. Now let's think about the New Hanover County school system and the role we as Giblem men need to play in building. And I'm a product of that school system, but it's totally different today than when I came through. So we as Giblem men, Giblem supporters, let me not ask you to be a supporter. Let me ask you to be a believer in Giblem. That's totally different if you believe versus support. So we have to rebuild the school system. That's a part of who we are and what we do as Masons. In Prince Hall's last published speech, his charge to the African Lodge in June of 1797, he spoke of mob violence against Blacks. I don't need to say any more about that. But I'm going to lead the same charge with this room today. And that charge is, he says, patience, I say, for were we not possessed of great measure of it, we could not bear up under the daily insults we meet in the streets of Boston. Much more on public days of recreation. How at such times are we shamefully abused? And that to such degree that we may truly be said to be carry our own lives in our own hands. And the arrows of death are flying about our heads. 'Tis not for want of courage in you, for they know that they dare not face you man to man, but in a mob which we despise. Giblem number 2 was founded, 1866, city's first Black Masonic lodge. The lodge was erected in 1871, and it served as a Black cultural center, the site of North Carolina's first agricultural and mechanical fair, as well as the city's first library for Blacks. It also served as a city market. Let us set the context of Giblem number 2 in 1866. Black codes. If I'm not mistaken, Black code said that anytime there were 6 or more African Americans or Blacks in a group, there had to be somebody white there to report what was being said. I just want to set the context. Jim Crow. Do I need to say any more? The laws and codes were established to limit and marginalize Black people. That's the power of Giblem. They refuse to be marginalized. Give this some thought. December of 1865, slavery ended. Reconstruction happened 1865, 1877. The country is grappling with how do we integrate all of these Black people into mainstream society? The country didn't want us. Sometimes I think about that and wonder the same thing today. Blacks flourished in business and gained political office. Laws were passed to undermine successful Blacks. The fusionist movement began to happen, where you had Republicans and Blacks who began to form political alliances together and begin to go into office. So what happens after succession, when there's a successful fusionist movement? 1898. And again, they didn't destroy Giblem for whatever reason. See, I see Giblem from then to now, and as we move into the future. If you can close your eyes and think of the caterpillar and its process to becoming a butterfly. See, the caterpillar, when they thought life was over, it became a butterfly. You can look at Giblem number 2, the outside now, and you can see the caterpillar. But the goal of this historical association is to turn it into a butterfly. See, like the caterpillar, which becomes a butterfly, Giblem is transforming before our eyes. At present, we have over 60 active members on the books, and we are in the process of re-recruiting inactive members, as well as seeking the right to become members of Giblem number 2. And I'm a member of Giblem number 2. I went through Giblem number 2 in the early 2000s. And I'm being reinstated because I understand the importance and the power of the work. Not only from Wilmington history, but this is state history. This is United States history. This is world history. You know, as I look down the list of those who were worshipful masters in North Carolina, I see James E. Shepard. Well, James E. Shepard was the founder of North Carolina Central University. He was a Prince Hall Mason, and I'm a North Carolina Central Eagle graduate. So as I look down the list and I see Mr. Howard Clement, and then I see Mr. Telfair, who's from Wilmington, and I see other names, I'm like, wow. How does it really feel to be a part of such great historical men with great purpose and great vision? And so as we sit here today, Giblem's vision is being resurrected. See, Giblem is fundamental to Masonry. In Masonry, evolution, the transition from operative to speculative Masonry, where the work is to be done to realize oneself as a builder of man, no longer of material order, but of spiritual order. Although we're no longer working with stones, bricks, and mortar, we can question that sometimes when it relates to men. It's about the journey of becoming the best human being you can possibly become and doing the work of the Creator. The future. Giblem needs a facelift, not just physically, but from a membership perspective. To foster racial uplift, mutual aid, social justice, we have to be on the front lines as Giblem men. We can't afford to sit back and give somebody else our destiny. I come up with this formula, if you will. And it's A for attitude. In parentheses, you got S plus K. That means skills plus knowledge. Plus M goals, whatever the goals are of the lodge or the goals are of men, equals positive behavioral change. And that's the exact intentional results that we should be looking to drive as Giblem men. We should be changing our community. It shouldn't be in the condition that it is in. I've seen the worst and I've seen the best, but I'm confident and hopeful that we can make the change that needs to happen. From whence we came from greatness. We have to restore greatness. Only we can do it. And the time is now. So thank you so very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. And with that, we will open up the floor for questions. I think you did a good job, Doc.
Question that when he was talking, are there any current fundraising campaigns that the community can help support?
Absolutely. Please visit our website, historicwilmington.org/Giblem-Lodge, and you can donate. Yes. So the estimates, in anyone who's ever led construction project knows that estimates sort of are valid. If you start the day you get the estimate, right, they immediately become invalid, the next day. And so estimates that we have from some of the engineering and reports that we got place the price tag just shy of $500,000. And so that number is only increasing as time is going on. So it is urgent that funding raising continue. And so all those who are interested in supporting can learn more about the efforts online at the Historic Wilmington Foundation website. Yes.
Can you contribute through HWF? Designate something to them?
Yes, you can.
Hi. Hey, everyone. Yes, so if you want to make a donation, what you can do is you can send a check to the Historic Wilmington Foundation and write in the memo Giblem Lodge. That's a really easy and simple way to do it. You may also donate online. That's historicwilmington.org/Giblem-Lodge. You can also just go to our website and there is a slider. You'll be able to select it and find it. But just as a note, our next step in fundraising is going to be securing the building envelope. So that includes fixing the broken or damaged windows and also assisting or repairing cracks in the masonry. And we estimate that next step in the renovation, because I know $500,000 sounds a little big, but that next step is a much more manageable $100,000. So any amount that you can share with us would be so appreciated. Sorry, I don't mean to grab the mic, but I just want to make sure that everyone knows it's very easy to donate online safely and securely, and also feel free to send that if you want. You can send it directly to HWF, and we'll take care of that for you. Yeah, we're really excited. Thanks.
Yes, you can write Isabel a check today. Don't wait till you get home. Yes, yes, sir.
$500,000 does not sound like a lot of money to me when I think about how much money is in the county after selling the hospital.
Yes.
And that they gave out $10 million last September. I'm sure the Wilmington Historic Foundation is seeking to get some of that money for this project.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
That's for my, that's on there, to see if there's been any discussion, about addressing the city council or county about all the funding, all the money they have and money, to fund this great home, restore it. Yes, because we had $500,000 almost go to a park. You know, so what is it to restore the building? It should be nothing, but I'm thinking that if it has not been discussed, then we need to get together to move forward in addressing city council or county commissioners for that money before they find something to do.
Yes. It has been discussed, and I think that part of what we're trying to accomplish today is to get more people discussing it, right? And so I think it's important for all of us who are invested in seeing Giblem restored to have those conversations with our elected officials and to let them know that this is important for us, and that it is our expectation that funding will be granted to help in this effort. So I think we are accomplishing our work, right? If you all leave here determined to discuss it with the powers that be, let them know that this community wants to see Giblem restored.
So is there some way you go on the next meeting's agenda? I know I haven't been present in the meetings, but I've been getting updates from Travis and other members of this fellow. But could we maybe get it on the next meeting agenda to actually sign up? It's a simple sign up and address the council, you know, and just everybody come, everybody show up. And just, it's simple, just put it on the table. So we don't have to wait and have discussions, because, you know, they'll talk to us and they'll listen, but we've got to actually go in and address the council to get some results.
Yeah,
We
well,
got to put it on that table. I'm game, if y'all game. Get together and go present to them. At least we have it on the table.
when is the next task force meeting?
Thursday.
Our next task force meeting is the
I'd have to check my
second
calendar.
Thursday.
Yes, aren't they the second Thursday in the month? So March 9th at Giblem at 1 p.m. So again, we this is to get more people interested. So all are welcome at the task force meetings. If the spirit is moving you, please join us, and we can strategize on a way to get the word out. But yes.
Guys, real quick, I have an email from this back here, and we will let you guys know about the task force meeting and anything that's going on with Giblem. I'm gonna sign up before you leave, and we absolutely love that. That's great.
Yeah.
I have one suggestion. Star News is always looking for material. They're very open to opinion letters. And if you put information about your interest, why it's important to the community, especially what's been said today, the impact it's had, they'll put it in there. And then, you name your representatives in the opinion letter. It's amazing how they respond when their names are in writing. Then you go on the county website, you get email addresses for every single one of the representatives, and you can do the same letter to them because you don't know whether or not Stardust is going to put it in immediately. But you send them the same crafted letter, make sure it's in the language of the task force so that it has a common mission message in there. They do respond. So that could get you on the county commissioners meeting, because presenting to them would be key.
So who would be actually present to for this? County,
City and
commissioners or
county.
city council? Or both?
Everyone, your county commissioner, your city council member, your congressman, your legislator, they all are able to appropriate funds for Giblem, right? And many of those entities have already expressed interest in supporting it. So I think, having a critical mass of people reaching out to those entities and expressing how important this is to them will make a difference. And so anyone you can write, please do write and let them know that you want to see movement on this issue, because time really is of the essence.
I'm just curious if anyone has gone into like Black fraternities, organizations that are local. My husband's Omega Sci-Fi, he's in that organization. University, like, are you bringing this up to the young people that usually get really fired up about things like this? 100 Black Men, I know in Wilmington, those kind of organizations that have a lot of professional people that may have connections. Has that been addressed yet?
Absolutely. We continue to make alliances and inroads with different organizations across the city and really the region to bring awareness to them. And many people have committed, as evidenced by the list already, and many other organizations have sort of committed to helping accomplish this work. And so that continues. And again, we've had guests from different Chamber of Commerce and other groups could join us at the task force meetings. And again, all are certainly welcome to do that as well.
So Isabella, with this on the agenda for remarks,
What I is that we on the agenda, we always are talking about ways to do more outreach. And we also, these are continuing discussions. So I would say every meeting we cover outreach efforts, and we also cover fundraising efforts. I just want to say that we are investigating every grant opportunity and any opportunity locally to speak before bodies that can provide that funding. So we're taking this from all different angles, and I'm certain that what we can talk about during the next task force meeting is ways that we as a group can get involved in advocacy specifically to our local governments. So I encourage you to join us. And it is I would say it's a very collaborative group. And oftentimes we do veer off schedule or off agenda. So please come with your ideas and your support. Dr. Jackson, I would just love to echo what you said, that we need believers. Thank you. Yeah.
Where is that meeting? I got March 9th at 1, but
It's at Giblem.
It's at the lodge.
at the lodge.
Yeah.
8th and Princeton. Yes, sir.
There's also the local public radio station. But in terms of the letter, I was thinking, I'm not sure if it would be useful or not, but that you send, since you're sending it to everybody, you list who it's going to, so they'll know that it's going. The politicians will know it's going. Members, other groups, and stuff like that, so that there might be somebody on the list that they don't want to offend their attention.
So that we could definitely start thinking about targeted letter campaign at the next meeting.
Because even the letter itself doesn't even have to like talk about funding, because you don't want to take away from, that's part of it, is that you have to be really cautious, right? Because you don't want to shoot your own foot, right? So something that's more of like an appeal for, hello, remember this building? And especially all the way up to the state level. Because it's certainly something that should be in my state and everything ends up being money at the end of the day, right?
Yes.
So they could see at the end of the day that it benefits the state of North Carolina to donate towards this. It benefits each local community to donate toward this, because they get tourists, right? That's what they think.
Yeah, and so this work is underway to sort of, I think, go national really with this story about Giblem, because I think it's an important national story, and events like this really do help, because we're then able to say the turnout that we had really demonstrates this community's commitment to Giblem. And so with that, I want to thank everyone sincerely for joining us this afternoon. Again, my name is Julius Jones. You can definitely reach out to me if you have any questions. If I can't answer them, I will direct you to Will. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Christine.
Wonderful. Wonderful questions. We do have this recorded, and it will be available on the library website early next week. So if you want to spread the word, send out this information, please feel free to send the link to this recording, share it amongst your friends and peers and elected officials if you choose to do so. But this is available for everyone. So if you have any questions, I do have a card at the back. My name is Christine Ingram. Again, I want to thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you to Dr. Jones and Dr. Jackson for this amazing presentation. I know I learned a lot. And for all who are interested and able, we do have a small display case on the second floor outside of the local history room with some artifacts from Giblem Lodge. And then please come back in April, because the main lobby display case downstairs on the first floor is going to have a display there as well. It's much larger. We're really excited about that. So please stop by. The local history room also is open 6 days a week. We are open the same hours as the library except for Sundays. That's typically closed, but we have lots of great information in there about Giblem Lodge and about other research topics. So please come visit us. And please, help me thank Dr. Jones and Dr. Jackson one more time. Thank you all for being here today. And if anybody parked on the third floor or needs a parking pass, see me on the way out. Thank you very much.